1, 2.
No, Donnie said she was doing it on the
Okay,
phone.
well,
Y'all remember that?
then I'm gonna give it to Donnie.
That was the point. But you might want to check before I get to make sure.
Yeah,
I might do it. I'll do it. But Joe.
All right. Joseph, will you hit those lights for me? The lights have come on. We're back. Oh. Give me my check, Mark. Mic check. 1, 2. Mic check. 1, 2. Mic check. 1, 2. Mic check. Mic check. Microphone check. 1, 2. Mic check. 1, 2. Mic check. Mic check. 1, 2. You said, hold on. Where's Joe at, man? In Asia. In Asia. A Jehovah's Witness said that Joe was from Asia. He was Asian. Yeah, old Jehovah's Witness told me that Job was Asian. Yeah. I was like, where you get that from? They was like, it's in the Bible. I was like, can you show me? Yeah, it was like, yeah, he was Asian. Okay. Oh, so you read? That'll work. All right, so let me see here. I ain't have time to type mine up, so I just roll with me on. I'm the one that I'm the least out of the bunch that don't really. Okay. Yeah, with the so you know. Yeah, I don't have. I just come off the dome. Well, it ain't off the dome, but. All right, brother, you got to count it down. Oh, hold on. I can put my time on. Yeah, look. You said I can let me set the time. 30 minutes, right? Yep. All right. You ready to go? All right. I'm ready. Yep. All right. I'd like to thank those that are tuning in to Bible in Plain View. I'll be your teacher today, Brother DeMarcus, and my reader right here is Brother Joseph. Warm introduction, the brother first time on here, but hey, it ain't first, it's all old. But the title of the lesson today is Your Diet Will Be a Part of Your Judgment. And what's been taken off the table, of course, is the dietary law, but not just the dietary law, all the law. Because we are now in a lawless society, and as you look around, you see the condition of the world because all the law has been taken off the table. But this one particular law that's been taken off the table, as small as it may seem, you're going to be judged on it. Because if you can't get what you can consume or eat under control, according to what God has written in the Bible, then you really ain't going to be wanting to deal with the commandments of God either. It's just that simple. You can pretty much, like the phrase go, you are what you eat. I mean, that's very true. You can actually look at what people eat, and their behavior pretty much lines up with what they eat. Not saying that, somebody eating shrimp, they act like a shrimp. No, I'm not saying that. But what I'm saying is that their character, they have no boundaries that they are bound to, so they live in lawless. They live in reckless. So we're going to get into the lesson. I ain't going to talk too much because, we are set at a limited time up here. So we're going to just get straight into it because the Bible says prove all things. So we're going to prove inside the scriptures that the dietary law still is in existence today and that you will be judged off of it. All right? So let's open the book up in Genesis chapter 6. And let's go all the way back to the beginning when, God told Noah to enter into the ship or into the ark. And right when he entered into the ark, God told Noah not to just gather in the ark, his sons and their wives and his wives. He also told Noah to gather, clean and unclean animals. So we finna pick it up at Genesis chapter 6, and let's pick it up at verse 8. When you get it, go ahead and read it, brother.
But Noah found grace in the eyes of the Lord.
So Noah, he found grace in the eyes of the Lord because before we get to verse 8, in the beginning of this chapter, God said that men began to multiply upon the face of the earth. And daughters were born unto them. So, in the beginning of this chapter, you got, the sons of God, which you can read in Genesis chapter 5. And then you got the daughters of men, which would be Cain's seed. They began to populate, or they began to mingle with each other. And right before we get to Genesis 8, God said that wickedness was up on the face of the earth, and every thought of man's mind was to be evil continually. So now as we read in verse 8, it's letting you know that throughout all this evil that was up on the face of the earth, the Bible just said, but Noah found grace in the eyes of God. Go ahead and read it, brother.
These are the generations of Noah.
So this is the generation of Noah. Go ahead.
Noah was a just man and perfect in his generation.
So Noah was a just and perfect man in his generation. He dealt with the commandments of God. Even in this same verse right here, go ahead and finish that up, brother.
And Noah walked with God.
So Noah walked with God. You got different accounts with Enoch. He was taken, he walked with God, but Enoch was found an upright man. Abraham walked with God. Moses walked with God. So in other words, these examples that the Bible gives you on brothers walking with God, they was perfect and upright. But it says Noah was, a just and perfect man in his generation, and he walked with God. Skip down to verse 17 and read it, brother.
And behold, I, even I, do bring a flood of waters upon the earth to destroy all flesh.
So the Lord just skipped right down to, in between 9 all the way down to 17. The Lord is telling you that he's going to destroy the earth with a flood. Or he's going to destroy the earth or mankind with the earth. That's how he is going to destroy mankind at this point. He's going to flood the whole earth and going to kill them. So now in verse 17 is letting you know that he's going to bring a flood upon the earth, and he's going to destroy all flesh. So this is the end of human existence, except for Noah, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, and their wives and Noah's wives. But keep reading though, brother.
Wherein is the breath of life from under heaven, and everything that is in earth shall die.
So everything in earth is going to die. Go ahead.
But with thee will I establish my covenant, and thou shalt come into the ark, thou and thy sons and thy wife and thy sons' wives with thee.
And the Lord just said he's going to establish this covenant with Noah. So now through Noah, this covenant is going to be established. Keep reading, brother.
And of every living thing of all flesh, 2 of every sort shall thou bring into the ark, to keep them alive with thee. They shall be male and female.
So now the Lord is letting you know that 2 of every sort. We talking about animals here. You're going to bring them into the ark, male and female. These you're going to bring in and you're going to keep alive. But not just also the animals. He also actually got into verse 20, letting you know the fowls of the air as well. Go ahead and read that, brother.
Of fowls also of their kind, and of cattle after their kind, of every creeping thing of the earth after his kind, 2 of every sort which come unto thee to keep them alive.
Go ahead.
and take thou into thee of all food that is eaten, and thou shalt gather it to thee, and it shall be for food for thee and for them.
Go ahead. Verse 22.
Thus did Noah, according to all that God commanded him, so he did. So did he.
So Noah did everything that was commanded unto him. He gathered the animals, he gathered the fowls of the air, but he gathered all animals after all their kind. You know, and he brought them into the ark. And at that point, let's read chapter 7 and verse 1. Go ahead.
And the Lord said unto Noah, Come thou in all thy house into the ark, for thee have I seen righteous before me in this generation.
So Noah has, been accounted as a righteous and perfect and upright man in his generation. So the Lord just told Noah to come into the ark, you and your sons and your wives and all the animals that you're going to gather. Verse 2, go ahead.
Of every clean beast thou shalt take to thee by sevens.
So of every clean beast you're going to take to thee by sevens. So that would be 14. You're going to take 7 of the male and you're going to take 7 of the females. But it said clean beasts. What it said about the unclean? Go ahead.
And of the beasts that are not clean by 2.
So of the unclean, you're going to take them by 2. So we got a plethora of clean animals and we got a few of unclean. But this was all established in the beginning. So even God just said, Noah, take clean by 7 and unclean by 2. Go ahead.
Of fowls also of the air by sevens, the male and the female, to keep seed alive upon the face of all the earth.
So you're going to take fowls also of the air by sevens, and the male and female to keep seed alive. So you're going to keep these fowls alive, or, the cattle or whatever is clean, you're going to keep them alive pertaining to the unclean. But they're all going to remain alive because you gathered the clean by sevens, even the fowls by sevens, and the unclean by 2. Let's go to Genesis chapter 9 now. Genesis chapter 9. Because we're going to get to the point of the title. The title is Your Diet Will Be a Part of Your Judgment. So what we're looking at right now is we just checking out in the beginning is that God established a clean and an unclean dealing with animals. The clean and the unclean didn't just come in Leviticus chapter 11. It was established in the beginning. But God just etched it in stone in Leviticus chapter 11 saying, hey, look here, this is what you ain't going to eat and this is what you're going to eat. So we're going to get to that point, but right now let's just prove the Bible. So let's go over to Genesis chapter 9 and pick it up at verse 1, brother. When you get it, go ahead and read it.
And God blessed Noah and his sons and said unto them, Be fruitful and multiply and replenish the earth.
Skip down to verse 4 and read it.
But flesh with life thereof, which is blood thereof, shall ye not eat.
So the Lord is letting you know, because before this point, before Adam brought death upon the table, like Adam and Eve, they weren't eating meat. They was just eating fruit. They was fruitarians, if that's what you want to call them. But now, death has been put on the table. So now, like the Lord is about to get into this chapter, because he just let you know that, but the flesh with the life thereof, which is the blood thereof, shall you not eat. So you ain't better eat your meat medium rare. In other words, you ain't better eat nothing that's bloody. Because the Lord just said, life thereof, which is the blood thereof, shall ye not eat. Verse 5, go ahead and read it.
And surely your blood of your lives will I require. At the hand of every beast will I require it.
So now your lives or your blood is going to be required at the hand of every beast. So much for these zookeepers that be trying to tame these wild animals. And then you hear about a situation where a tiger may have, taken up a child, or, a stingray killed the crocodile guy. Like, you trying to tame the wildlife, but the Lord just said your blood is going to be required at the hand of the beast. So it's not a surprise that, they all got killed by the wild beast, because that's what was written right here. So the Bible just said, and surely your blood of your lives will I require at the hand of every beast. Go ahead.
And at the hand of man, at the hand of every man's brother will I require the life of man. Whosoever shreddeth man's blood, by man shall...
That's it on that. Read that verse 5 one more time, brother.
And surely your blood of your lives will I require. At the hand of every beast will I require it, and at the hand of man, at the hand of every man's brother will I require the life of man.
So, you're going to have brothers killing brothers, men killing men. You're going to have beasts killing men. You're going to have men killing beasts. Like, all that has now been put up on the table after sin has been introduced on the earth. Let's go a little bit further. Let's go over to Deuteronomy chapter 14. Let's take a look at this dietary law. I went with Deuteronomy 14. It's in Leviticus chapter 11. Deuteronomy, it gave you a little more clear. Leviticus gives it clear as well, but, as I was reading Deuteronomy 14, is actually naming the animals that are clean that you can eat. And a lot of these animals, they're real simple to find. So in Deuteronomy 14, God sanctified the children of Israel, and he gave them a clean and an unclean thing, a list of foods to eat. So let's get into it. Let's get into Deuteronomy 14 and verse 1. When you get it, go ahead and read it, brother.
Ye are the children of the Lord your God. Ye shall not cut yourselves, nor make any baldness between your eyes for the dead.
Go ahead.
For thou art an holy people unto the Lord thy God. And the Lord hath chosen thee to be a peculiar people unto himself, above all the nations that are upon the earth.
So the Lord has chosen the children of Israel to be a peculiar people, or a peculiar treasure, unto himself above all nations that are upon the earth. So now the Lord has chosen this nation of people, sanctified them and set them apart. So now he's giving you a diet that you need to follow. Verse 3, go ahead.
Thou shalt not eat any abominable thing.
So you ain't going to eat nothing abominable. Verse 4, go ahead.
These are the beasts which ye shall eat.
Go ahead.
The ox, the sheep, the goat, the hart, and the roebuck.
Go ahead.
And the fallow deer.
Go ahead.
And the wild goat, and the pygarg.
Go ahead.
And the wild ox, and the chamosis.
So those, tuning in, checking this out, you can go in and Google these animals that you can eat, which are clean animals. But the Lord just clearly gave you a list of clean animals that you can't eat. But go ahead and keep reading, verse 6.
And every beast that parteth the hoof and cleave the cleft unto two claws.
So that's just saying the cloven-footed. In Leviticus chapter 11, it calls them cloven-footed. But it's just letting you know the cleft into two claws. Cloven-footed, go ahead.
And chew the cud among the beasts, that ye shall eat.
So that's what you're going to eat. Verse 7, go ahead.
Nevertheless, these ye shall not eat of them that chew the cud, or of them that divide the cloven hoof.
Go ahead.
As the camel, and the hare, and the coney. And they chew the cud, but divided not the hoof.
So they chew the cud, but they divide not the hoof. These are the animals that you're not going to eat. So you don't need to be eating no camels, no conies, or any of that. The hare, you don't need to be eating that, because it says that, they divide not the hoof, but yet they chew the cud. Therefore, they are unclean unto you. Verse 8, go ahead.
And the swine, because it divide the hoof, yet chew not the cud. It is unclean unto you.
So even the swine, which is the pig, you ain't going to eat that, because it says it chew not the cud, but it divides the hoof. So it got to do both. But it's letting you know that it divides the hoof, but it don't chew the cud. Chewing the cud is just, regurgitating his food and chewing it over and over again. But the pig don't do that. So it's letting you know that the pig is unclean, which is the swine. Go ahead.
Ye shall not eat of their flesh, nor touch their dead carcass. These ye shall eat of all that are in the waters.
Go ahead.
All that have fins and scales shall ye eat. And whosoever have not fins and scales ye may not eat.
It's very clear and simple. If it don't have fins and scales, you can't eat it. Shrimp don't have no fins or scales. Catfish, I don't think it has fins, but it don't have both. Okay. So it has scales but no fins. Oh, it don't have scales, but it has fins. In other words, it got to have both. Alligator meat, it don't have no fins or no scales. So these are animals that's in the sea, also in the rivers. It's a lot more to it, but the Lord is very clear and cut to the point. He told you if it's in the water, it got to have fins and scales. All you got to do is just Google these pictures. That's it. No fins or scales, And it also needs to chew the hoof. It needs to chew the cud, and it needs to divide the hoof. You got to have all these characteristics in order to actually be eaten. You can't eat it if it don't have both of the two. But keep reading though, brother.
It is unclean unto you.
Go ahead.
Of all clean birds ye shall eat, but these are they of which ye shall not eat: the eagle, and the ostrich, and the osprey,
Go ahead.
and the glad, is that right? And the kite, and the vulture after his kind, and every raven after his kind,
Go ahead.
and the owl,
Go ahead.
and the nighthawk, and the cuckoo, and the hawk after his kind,
Go ahead.
the little owl, and the great owl, and the swan, and the pelican, and the girt eagle, and the cormorant, and the stork, and the heron after her kind, and the lapwing, and the bat.
That's it on that. Let's go over here to Isaiah chapter 66. So now we just established the clean and the unclean, what you can eat and what you can't eat. We saw that in Genesis chapter 1, how the Lord told Noah to bring on the ark of 7 of clean animals and 2 of unclean. Then we just read in Deuteronomy chapter 14 is that God gave you clean animals to eat and unclean animals to eat. He also told you in the sea not to eat anything that don't have fins or scales. You gotta divide the hoof and chew the cud and cloven footed in order to be eaten. You can't have just one of the attributes. You gotta have them all. So we saw that the Lord gave you a list of things that you can't eat. So now we finna go into Isaiah chapter 66 just to see if these things are cool to eat. Because a lot of people today, they consuming these different foods. And they're saying that, long as I pray over it, it's good. Well, we're gonna see if that's the case. So let's go over to Isaiah 66 and let's pick it up at verse 15. When you get it, go ahead and read it, brother.
For behold, the Lord will come with fire, and with his chariots like a whirlwind, to render his anger with fury, and his rebuke with flames of fire.
So this is the coming of the Lord. It just lets you know, for behold, the Lord will come with fire. So this is when the Lord is going to set foot back on this earth. This has not happened yet. You have never seen the Lord come down out of earth with fire like a whirlwind. We haven't seen that yet. This is talking about in the future. Verse 16, read it.
For by fire and by his sword will the Lord plead with all flesh, and slain of the Lord shall be many.
So the Lord ain't finna sit here and beg you. We ain't talking about pleading you to, serve the Lord. No, the Lord is going to kill you. That's why I said in the bottom of that, the slain of the Lord shall be many. Go ahead.
They that sanctify themselves.
So the Bible says they that sanctify themselves, not sanctified by God, but they sanctify themselves. Go ahead.
And purify themselves in the gardens behind one tree in the midst.
So they still behind that one tree today. That one tree is Satan. But they still are purifying themselves behind this one tree, doing what, brother?
Eating swine's flesh.
So they still eating swine flesh today. But check out what the Lord said he's going to do to those that are still eating this swine flesh. Go ahead.
And the abomination and the mouse shall be consumed together with, saith the Lord.
So the Lord going to kill him for still breaking his dietary law. But skip down to verse 23 and read this so we can get the time frame on when this event is going to take place. 23, go ahead.
And it shall come to pass that from one new moon to another, and from one Sabbath to another, shall all flesh come to worship before me, saith the Lord.
Go ahead.
And they shall go forth and look upon the carcasses of men that have transgressed against me. For their worm shall not die, neither shall their fire be quenched, and they shall be an abhorring unto all flesh.
So they're going to go and look up on the carcasses of men that have transgressed against me. These two men is the beast and the false prophet. This is in the kingdom of Jesus. Jesus now set foot back on this earth, and he has established his kingdom. So in his kingdom, you're going to see the beast and the false prophet burning in the lake of fire already before judgment has even taken place. But we reading that this event has not taken place yet. So therefore, when the Lord return, if you still eating pig, the Lord gonna kill you. Not just pig, but mouse, shrimp, catfish, lobster, whatever is contrary of the dietary law, the Lord is gonna kill you. Let's go over to Revelation real quick. Revelation 19. Let's tie into this Isaiah 66 and let's just examine, is Isaiah 66 in the Old Testament and it's just for the Old Testament and it already took place? Let's check and see. Revelation 19, and let's pick it up at verse 11. When you get it, go ahead and read it, brother.
And I saw heaven open, and behold, a white horse, and he that sat upon him was called Faithful and True, and in righteousness he doeth judge and make war. His eyes were as a flame of fire, and on his head were many crowns.
And on his head was many crowns. We're talking about Jesus here, but it just said, and I saw heaven open, and behold, a white horse. So heaven had opened up, and behold, Jesus appeared on this white horse. And it says, and that sat upon him was called Faithful and True. And in righteousness he do judge and make war. Verse 12, go ahead.
His eyes were as flame of fire, and on his head were many crowns.
So on his head was many crowns because he has taken down all these different nations, all these governments. He is now King of kings and Lord of lords. So on his head was many crowns. Go ahead.
And he had a name written that no man knew, but he himself.
Go ahead.
And he was clothed with a vesture dipped in blood.
He was clothed with a vesture dipped in blood because he just got finished killing people. He was killing people that was breaking the dietary law. We saw that in Isaiah 66. So this blood that's on his vesture is the blood of those that was still eating on pork or eating mouse or shrimp. Whatever the case is, you have been judged by breaking this dietary law. Because your blood is probably on the vesture of Jesus Christ. But keep reading though, brother.
And his name is called the Word of God.
Go ahead.
And the armies which were in heaven followed him upon white horses,
Go ahead.
clothed in fine linen, white and clean. And out of his mouth goeth a sharp sword, that with it he shall smite the nations, and shall rule them with a rod of iron.
So the Lord finna set foot back on this earth, and he finna rule the nations with a rod of iron. Skip down to verse 19 and read it.
And I saw the beast and the kings of the earth, and their armies gathered together to make war against him that sat on the horse, and against his army.
So the beast, which we read in Isaiah 66, he gonna be in the lake of fire, but the beast gathered his armies together to fight against the Lord. He gotta be crazy. But this is an event that is taking place that coincide with Isaiah 66, just to show you is that Jesus is back on this earth. And he's killing those that have went contrary of his law, also those nations that he's going to gather in the valley of Jehoshaphat and kill them for what they did to the children of Israel. But keep reading though, brother.
And the beast was taken, and with him the false prophet that wrought miracles before him, with which he deceived them that have received the mark of the beast, and them that worship his image. These both were cast alive into the lake of fire, burning with brimstone.
So they was both cast alive into the lake of fire, burning with brimstone. Skip down to chapter 20 and read verse 1 through 6, brother.
And I saw an angel come down from heaven, having the key of the bottomless pit, and a great chain in his hand.
Go ahead.
And he laid hold on the dragon, that old serpent, which is the devil and Satan, and bound him 1,000 years.
Go ahead.
And cast him into the bottomless pit, and shut him up, and set a seal upon him, that he should deceive the nations no more, till the 1,000 years shall be fulfilled. And after that, he must be loose a little season.
So this going all the way into Jesus' kingdom. And inside of his kingdom, Satan has been bound for 1,000 years. And as you read in verse 4, those that kept the commandments of Christ and died with Christ in their heart, they're going to reign with Christ 1,000 years. Skip down to verse 11 and read that, brother.
And I saw a great white throne, and him that sat on it, from whose face the earth and heaven fled away.
So now we're going into judgment. Go ahead.
And there was found no place for them.
Go ahead.
And I saw the dead, small and great, stand before God, and the books were open. And another book was open, which is the book of life. And the dead were judged out of those things which were written in the books according to their works.
So they was judged according to their works, but the books was open. This Bible was open, and they was judged according to their works. So what we read is that they was judged according to your works. Your work. I got 2 minutes. For real? I got 4 minutes. But they was judged according to their works. Let's go over here to Revelation 21. Revelation 21. Your works is keeping the commandments of God. Inside of the commandments is the dietary law. So if you're breaking the dietary law, you're going to be judged according to that. That's what we just read in Revelation 20 and verse 12, is that the dead was judged out of the things that was written in the book. The book, what we just read in Deuteronomy 14, is keep the dietary law. What we saw in Isaiah 66 is that the Lord is going to kill you when he returns. So as we read in Revelations, we just coincide in Revelations to Isaiah, showing you that these events have not taken place. This is all going to take place in the future. So now in Revelations 21, we finna see a new heaven and a new earth come down to this earth. So pick it up at Revelations 21 and verse 1. When you get it, go ahead and read it, brother.
And I saw a new heaven and a new earth, for the first heaven and the first earth were passed away, and there was no more sea. And I, John, saw the holy city, New Jerusalem, come down from God out of heaven, prepared as a bride adorned for her husband.
Skip down to verse 6 and read it.
And he said unto me, It is done. I am Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the end. I will give unto him that is athirst of the fountain of the water of life freely.
Skip down to verse 8 and read it. That water of life is Jesus. You're going to be drinking from him freely. But skip down to verse 8 and read it, brother.
But the fearful and unbelieving.
So the fearful and the unbelieving, these are those that don't believe in the word. These are the ones that don't fear God. But go ahead.
And the abominable.
And the abominable. Go ahead.
And the murderers, and whoremongers, and sorcerers, and idolaters, and all liars shall have their part in the lake which burneth with fire and brimstone.
So they all going to have their part in the lake of fire, which burn with brimstone. The fearful, the ones that don't fear the Lord, don't want to keep his commandments. The unbelieving, these are the ones that feel as if like they could just eat anything, just pray over it. But then the abominable, the murderers, the whoremongers, the sorcerers, the idolaters, and all liars, they all going to be burning in the lake of fire. Let's go over here to 1 Timothy real quick. 1 Timothy chapter 4. Because we just saw in Revelation chapter 21 is that liars, the unbelievers, the fearful, they all going to have their part in the lake of fire. So let's go over here to 1 Timothy chapter 4. Let's pick it up at verse 1. When you get it, go ahead and read it, brother.
Now the Spirit is speaking expressly that in the latter times some shall depart from the faith, giving heed to seducing spirits and doctrines of devils, speaking lies and hypocrisy, having their conscience seared with a hot iron.
So their conscience is going to be seared out with a hot iron because they've been seduced by this doctrine of devils. You know, you bring to them, hey, man, you can't eat that. Well, they say, I can eat it. I just got to pray over it. See, their conscience has been seared out with a hot iron because they're not dealing with the word of God. They're dealing with a doctrine of devil, a seducing spirit. But go ahead, brother.
Forbidding to marry.
Forbidding to marry. So there's a doctrine out there or a church out there that's letting you know that being married is a forbidden thing if you're going to take part of the church. But we know that's not the case because we saw in the beginning that the Lord told Noah them to be fruitful and multiply and replenish the earth. So we know that's not the case, but we understand that this is a seducing spirit, a doctrine of devils. Keep reading, brother.
And commanding to abstain from meats.
And commanding you to abstain from meat. They tell you on Lent that you ain't got to eat meat no more. This is the Catholic Church, brothers and sisters. This is the one that is forbidding you to marry and to abstain from meat. This is a seducing spirit, a doctrine of devils. God never said that. We can read it. We just read it. It's that God told you, here's a clean and unclean. He gave you meats. He also said that it's okay for you to marry. Paul even said that if you can't contain, then it's better for you to marry than to burn. But we realize that even this doctrine that's being promoted, they having problems with keeping their flesh under subjection, but they came up with a doctrine that don't even exist in the Bible. So the Bible just said, forbidden to marry, commanded to abstain from meats. Go ahead.
Which God have created to be received with thanksgiving of them which believe and know the truth.
Of them which believe and know the truth. So you got to pay attention to that in verse 3. It says of them that believe. So I believe that the Lord gave me a dietary law that I need to follow. I believe that the Lord is going to judge me according to what I eat if it's contrary to the dietary law. I believe that. That is also truth. You can go and read in Psalm chapter 119 and 142. It says that law is true. So the law we just read in Deuteronomy 14, that's a law. So the Lord just said through the mouth of Paul is that be received with thanksgiving of them which believe and know the truth. Let's go to one more place. I know I'm out of time, but let's go over to one more place. Let's go over to Matthew chapter 9 real quick. Matthew chapter 9, this will be the last place. Matthew chapter 9, and let's pick it up at, Matthew chapter 15, my bad, and pick it up at verse 1, brother. Matthew 15, you know what? Pick it up at verse 10. Matthew 15 and verse 10.
What verse that was?
Verse 10.
Verse 10. And he called a multitude and said unto them, hear and understand. Not that which goeth into the mouth defile a man, but that which cometh out the mouth, this defile a man.
So people go here and they read this and they feel like this is pertaining to the dietary law, but it's not. That's why we went to 1 Timothy chapter 4, and we also showed that that's not dealing with the dietary law. So now Jesus is letting you know what goes in the mouth, that don't defile a man. Because in the beginning of this chapter, we was talking about the Pharisees. They was looking at the disciples because they didn't wash their hands. And they coming up with these different traditions or whatever. But even right here, the Lord said, what goes in your mouth don't defile a man. Verse 12, go ahead.
Then came his disciples and said unto him, knowest thou that the Pharisees were offended after they heard this saying?
So the Pharisees, they were offended after they heard this saying. Skip down to verse 14 and read it.
Let them alone. They be blind leaders of the blind. And if the blind lead the blind, both shall fall into the ditch.
So the blind leading the blind, they both going to fall in the ditch. So just leave them be. They ain't going to understand this anyhow. Skip down to verse 17, because those that come to this and they try to deal with this pertaining to the dietary law to justify what they can and cannot eat, like you the blind leading the blind. You're going to fall in the ditch. That ditch is going to be the lake of fire. So now we come here to show you that Jesus ain't even talking about what you eat. We're going to read it though. Verse 17 and read that, brother.
Do not ye yet understand that whatsoever enter into at the mouth goeth into the belly and is cast out into the drought?
So whatever you eat, it goes right through your system and it goes out the drought. It goes out. You know, you may pee it out or you may poop it out, but it just goes out. He's letting you know that whatever you eat, it goes right out the drought. But that's not what he's dealing with right here. Verse 18, go ahead.
But those things which proceed out of the mouth come forth from the heart, and they defile the man.
This is what defile a man. These thoughts that proceed forth from the heart and come out of your mouth. This is what defiles you. Verse 19, read it.
For out of the heart perceive evil thoughts.
So evil thoughts come out of the heart of men. So evil thoughts thinking that it's okay to eat whatever you want, that's an evil thought. God just gave you clean and unclean foods to eat. But if you still thinking that it's okay to eat it and pray over it, that's an evil thought. So this is what's going to defile you. Your evil thoughts, go ahead.
Murders.
Murderers, go ahead.
Adulteries.
Go ahead.
Fornications.
Go ahead.
Thefts.
Go ahead.
False witness. Blasphemies.
This is what defiles you, brothers and sisters. We are not even talking about food in this chapter. We talking about the mind. The mind being contrary to God. This is what's going to defile you. Verse 20, read it, brother.
These are the things which defile a man. But to eat with unwashed hands defile not a man.
So to eat with unwashed hands, that don't defile you. I hope somebody got some understanding. I thank you for your time in Jesus' name. Hey, can I go over? Oh. Oh, you got to stop the screen. I want to go.